This is Algebra Lesson 9.1. I want to reference your note-taking guide. You need to have that out before each lesson and follow along. Lesson 9.1 is basically talking about vocabulary and monomials and classifying polynomials. I'm going to go over the vocabulary terms. You'll need to find them in your textbook. The first term is a monomial, degree of a monomial, polynomial, standard form of a polynomial, degree of a polynomial, binomial, and finally a trinomial. Okay, hopefully you have recorded your definitions for the terms that we just talked about. And now we're going to talk about the degrees of a monomial. The way that you find the degree of a monomial is by adding up your exponents. I'm going to show you with an example. If I gave you the monomial 4x to the third y to the 7th, and I asked you to find the degree, all you would have to do is add your 3 and your 7, your two exponents, and hopefully you would come up with 10. Let's try a second one. This one's a little tricky. If I gave you -7 as your monomial and asked you for the degree, what do you think it would be? Well, there aren't any exponents, so your degree is 0. And finally, your third term is 1/4 x. What is your degree? You should have come up with 1. If there isn't an exponent listed, it's understood that it's 1. The correct way for us to write our polynomials is in standard form. To do that, you have to list them in decreasing exponential form from left to right. So if we look at the first polynomial, we've got 12p to the second plus 4 plus 3p to the 4. Our exponents are 2. Our variable is missing here, so the exponent has to be 0. And then p to the 4th power. Are those in decreasing order? No, they're not, so that is incorrect. How about the second one? We have 3p to the 4th plus 12p to the second plus 4. Again, our variable is missing, so it has to have an exponent of 0. Is that in decreasing order? Hopefully you realize it was, and that is correct. Now we're talking about classification of polynomials. You will find this chart on page 495 in your textbook if you want to follow along. There are two ways for us to classify polynomials, and I'm talking about polynomials now, not monomials, so the degree may be a little tricky for you based on what we just talked about. If we're talking about the degree of a polynomial, we have to look at the largest exponent of our monomials listed. So our first polynomial is 7x plus 4. The only exponent we have there is 1, so the degree has to be 1. If we classify it based on the number of terms, 7x is one term and 4 is one term, so there are two terms. A two-termed polynomial is named a binomial. Let's go to the second polynomial. 3x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now remember, we're finding the degree of the polynomial, not the monomial. So the degree of the polynomial, the largest exponent is 2. So the degree, for classification purposes, is 2. If we want to classify it based on the number of terms, how many terms are there? 3x squared is 1, 2x is 1, and 1 is obviously 1. And so we have 3 terms. That's a trinomial. I think you can figure the rest of them out, but I do want to talk about, just for a moment, this term 4x cubed. There's only one term, and it is called a monomial. Mono means 1. Bi means 2. Tri means 3.